Welcome to the podcast, where street smart, business smart, all kinds of smart people share their insights into the world of marketing, career journeys, and personal growth. So sit back and prepare to get enlightened with your host, Adam Posner.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, where I bring you the best and brightest from the world of business, marketing, and personal growth to help you harness your inner tenacity and drive your career forward. Pause for a second. I want to redo. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, where I bring you the best and brightest from the world of business, marketing, and personal growth to help you harness your inner tenacity to drive your career forward. My guest today, Zack Scriven, is a self-proclaimed influencer, a title he takes a lot of pride in, but also gets a lot of criticism for as well. Either way, he owns it, and he does his best to embody the title, and I love him for that. But Zack is a lot more than that, and he quit his lucrative job in industrial automation engineering to pursue content creation full-time. And he is the host of the Zack Scriven Podcast, who graciously had me on about a year ago to share my story. And he was one of the first guests, the first shows that I came on, where I opened up about my career and my story, and I appreciate you, Zack, for that a lot. He is also a highly technically and creatively skilled content creator and founder of Zack Scriven Media. Another aspect I deeply admire about him, as he consistently innovates and shares his learnings with his tribe. He's always giving, and he's always adding value. And his focus is around digital transformation, featuring both clients within his past industry and others. And he recently completed a 30-day road trip, which we're going to talk a lot about, where he documented all of his journeys and his goal. Yeah,
that's it. I'm done, dude. Yeah, you don't even need me, dude.
No, we don't even need your intro. And his goal
is
just
did it perfectly,
God,
man.
I know, is God in all things that he does. And we'll talk about faith and what that really means to him. And today he travels all over the U.S. and worldwide. We'll talk about global travel and how much that has influenced him in his life. It's something that he really loves. Speaks all over the place: South Africa, Vegas, Dallas, Dubai, and everywhere in between, really preaching his message and creating content. Zack's been a buddy of mine on LinkedIn. I value him as a connection, somebody that I confide in at times. We talk shop, we talk life, we talk business. Happy to have him on the show today. Zack Scriven, welcome finally to the podcast.
Finally, dude. I feel like, when the with the trainee, like what's the young apprentice, they snatch the grasshopper from the master's hand. That's you right now. And so like you said, a year ago, you were on my show and you're just getting into podcasting. Now you have the podcast, which is well known throughout LinkedIn. I'm following names like Shay Rowbottom and Mike Winnett and Jordan Paris, Mark Metry. Like, dude, it's an honor, man. Thank you.
Thanks, man. It's been a journey, and we'll definitely talk about the podcast journey, because there's the ups and downs, the struggles, the technical aspect, the creative aspect. But why don't we just jump in? I think I covered your story pretty well.
Yeah, you did.
What did I miss anything here that anybody who doesn't know Zack Scriven needs to know?
Dude, is that it's not always as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. I'm actually in the process of moving right now. California, I'm renting. I do have an investment property here, but I'm looking at moving and the prices are just too high. So, I'm actually looking at moving into Arizona. So we're going to make sure that, Mary, being a flight attendant, she can kind of commute to her LAX base. But
right,
yeah, we're in the process of moving. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, would I love to have a mansion on the Hollywood Hills and just be boom, Zack Scriven Media Enterprises? Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Projecting it onto the hills, right? Like projection mapping that shit onto the hills. No, I love it, man.
Ooh, like VR, like you put your phone up and you see it, like instead of Hollywood, it says like Zack Scriven Media.
Well, here's my VR, if you could see it behind me. So this is Long Beach, right? Long Beach, New York, right? So I live back like 10 minutes that way. My office is over here. So I kind of use this painting as my little, augmented reality to show what's happening here. So let's take it back a little bit. Something that you talk.
I guess what I was saying though is like, you say like, oh, I met a bunch of people on this road trip, like people that went out of their way to meet me at these meetups that I did, and the clients that hired me, and they're like, oh, Zack, you're crushing it. Zack, like, congrats on all the success. And it's like, I just don't feel that inside. You know what I'm saying? Like I
can relate with you.
Yeah, 100%. I'm making money from doing LinkedIn video. And yeah, took a lot of courage to quit my job, stable 6-figure income, to do something unknown. And yeah, I've been doing it almost 2 years now successfully. So has there been ups and downs? Yeah. Have I been able to travel the world? Dubai, Australia, Madrid, it's too many places to really name. Canada, all across the United States, did the 30-day road trip, fully sponsored, just on a whim, basically. Just came up with this idea, posted it to LinkedIn, and there was so much support from the community behind this idea that I was like, I have to do it now, like I want to do it. And so like I went, I mean, I didn't have to do it, right? But I wanted to do it,
You had the wind behind your sail, man.
Yeah.
Totally. So let's bring it.
Yeah. Continue. What's the next question?
So let's bring it back to the beginning a little bit. Something, you're a family man, you have your daughter who inspires you and everything. But let's talk a little bit about, what that really means to you, that family. How does that drive everything that you do?
Yeah. I guess it's knowing where to make sacrifices and where to, double down, I guess. So for me, that's why I brought Zoe on the road trip. I mean, could I have gotten a lot more content
without her
around industry if I wasn't, kind of, I guess, focused around Mary and Zoe on the road trip? Yeah, of course. But then it wouldn't have even been worth it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and it's a different perspective, and you're giving her that experience as well. And that quality time at this age is irreplaceable. Totally get that. So going back to your origin story, we talked about your beginning career in industrial automation. Let's talk about that journey. You're a content creator. You're still holding down that full-time job, but talk to us a little bit about that journey when you made the full switch, when you made that pivot. What was that process like? What were those conversations with your wife like? Because you took a gamble, man.
Yeah. It was a slower journey. So it actually an interesting story. It involved a recruiter too, but so my parents actually had been involved in the system integration SCADA business, and so that's how I got started into it at an early age. I actually started working for my parents' company at an early age, like 12, and as a teenager, eventually dropped out of college to work for them full time, and ended up taking over that business. And my parents, they had a divorce and kind of separated, and so I kind of took that over. Did that for a few years, and eventually met my current fiance Mary, and after about a year, we ended up expecting a child. So, I guess running your own business, there's a lot of ups and downs, and health insurance and all these different things. I was like, well, why don't I just close this company down, go get another job doing the same thing, and then have consistent income, benefits. I could take time off. And so that's what I did. And it worked out well. Zoe came, I got to be there for like all the ultrasound appointments. I got to, be there obviously for when she was born.
You were there for everything.
Yeah. And so that was important for me. Like I would have had to be like working nonstop if I was still running my own business at that time. So, so that was I worked for that company about 2 years, and eventually I just kind of got like a little bit unmotivated for growth. Like I just kind of felt stagnated. Like they're hiring people above me and the team was growing, but like they weren't personally promoting me, even though I felt like I was a little bit underpaid. So, I was just looking elsewhere to see what other opportunities there were for more growth, more income, more responsibilities. And, cause it's like 70,000 in California is not a huge income. So
no.
I was talking to a recruiter. There was a couple opportunities that he, thought would have been good for me, but I wasn't really interested in him. But I still talked to him anyways to kind of just build that relationship. And it wasn't until about 6 months later that he actually found like the perfect. Bye, Zoe. Bye, Zoe.
Have a good day.
Yeah. So it was about 6 months later he actually found like the perfect opportunity for me. And the pay was over 6 figures, nice signing bonus. Like it was like perfectly slated for what it was in the water industry, which is where I came from, and
all the boxes are being checked.
So I took that job, and it was awesome at first, but the culture wasn't really there, and so they weren't really kind of forward thinking, looking to change the way that things were done, which obviously that's like kind of my core. It's like I'm a futurist. I always like kind of change the way things are done for better or for worse, but it was super unhappy there. And so after about 8 months, it had gotten to the point where I was getting so unhappy, but also at the same time, I was like looking for other opportunities, like in the video space. And so I was making more live streams, doing more videos, doing a blog, connecting with more people on LinkedIn. One day I was posting a YouTube video to LinkedIn, and I happened to notice that there was a native video upload feature. And so I just decided to natively upload it. And that video took off like over 1,000 views. And so I was like, wow, this is really interesting. Like, what's going on here? And I posted another one, and I was like, wow, like
that's about a year ago.
yeah, this is really like powerful. And so like maybe a few months later, it just got to the point where I was just like, all right, it had just split, you know, and I went to go talk to my boss. And I was like, you know, I'm really, I feel like I'm being unproductive. I feel guilty about it. Like, I don't know what to do. And he was just like, yeah, you could just either quit right now or, you know, just kind of accept things the way they are and
Yeah,
produce.
cowboy up, right?
And so I was like, all right, you know, that's it, I guess. And so I quit that day, went home, made that video on LinkedIn. And it really, the whole entire goal always has been the same. It's kind of three pillars: be able to spend more time with family, Mary and Zoe, be able to follow my passion in video content creation, and be able to serve God, build the kingdom of God here on earth. I mean, these are not my talents. He's just lending them to me. You know what
I
I'm
love
saying?
it, dude.
If I could just like not mess it up enough where his plan could actually be fulfilled through me, then, you know, like I'm just holding myself back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I love that you have that focus, right? You have your pillars, and everything that you do has the intention, to really focus on them. Before we get into, I want to talk about influencer marketing and the influencer title, but let's talk a little bit about your background in technical production. Something that I value, admire, and learn from you is your technical skill set. And you're always putting it out onto LinkedIn. You're sharing your setup, you're sharing your rig and tips and everything. Was content, I mean, video, still photography, production, audio, was this something that you've always been kind of passionate about before you
Yeah.
went into this? Or, was it something like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I better fucking do it right?
I'd say a little bit of both. So I'd always kind of done little home movies as a kid, like doing a Rubik's Cube. I did a video, even some parodies, like some Guitar Hero
Yeah.
parodies or riding my bike off jumps. Like, you know, so I'd always been like posting videos to YouTube, but never really thought of like YouTube as a viable career. In fact, my dad was saying like, you know, you can't really have those funny, you know, I was like pretending to drink in some and just kind of, you know, I'm kind of, I have
Right.
that comedic outlet, you know, and that expression, right? And my dad was like saying, he's like, you're not going to be able to get a job because of that. And so eventually, like in my teens, I deleted that YouTube channel, which I'm kind of sad that I did because, I
I'm
mean,
sure
some
you
of
have it
those
archived
videos,
somewhere.
yeah, well, like I could see the
Some
video,
old
but
hard drive.
it's like it's just so hard now. Now everything's on Dropbox, but yeah, like this we're talking like years ago. But yeah, so to answer your question, I've always kind of like played with video, but never until, you know, that point where I put video first, never really thought of it as something as a career. And believe it or not, Gary Vaynerchuk's Crushing It book really helped change my mindset on that.
Yeah, it affected lots of people. I mean, take his message for what it's worth and take the action on that. So let's talk about that title on your hat, influencer. And to some, there's a stigma behind it. Let's break it down into two parts. What is the word influencer mean to you, and what does it mean to influence others?
Mhm. Okay, so the word influencer really has like two meanings that kind of overlap, or maybe it's a gradient. I don't know. But on one end, it's like just the ability to, for me, it's like using video online to amplify your reach, whether that's on Instagram or in LinkedIn, in this case, with the emphasis on the in. That's really why I like branding it around that. But it's just basically using your using video, using technology to build your influence. Um, that's being an influencer, right? Like if you're being active on social media, you're probably you're a small subset of the population right now. You know, a lot of people consuming content on social media, but who's actually putting themselves out there in a professional capacity, saying like, hey, I'm a real estate agent, or hey, I'm a recruiter, or hey, I'm a content creator. You know, like that takes, it's bold, you know.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
we want to commend that. You know, we want to encourage that, and we want to people to be influencers, right? We don't want to like stigmatize it, because like then people that aren't doing it like, oh wait, look at our friend Johnny over there is like posting videos, thinks he knows what he's talking about. You know, it's like, no, you know, like I didn't know what the fuck I was talking. I still don't, you know, like I still make mistakes. I still, you know, have that same fear when I flick on the camera, just like when I first started. So that's on one end, and then on the other end is very much the literal sense of like, you get money, you do a post about a brand, kind of that influencer marketing transaction. So that's kind of like where I position myself, and that's the kind of the brands and sponsorships that I work with, is kind of those influencer marketing clients. And it's really kind of hybrid, like content creation packaged with influencer marketing, because you got to imagine a lot of these industrial automation companies don't have any content at all.
No.
So when they work with me as an influencer, they're at least getting some content. Like, you know, they invite me to their event and they get that event highlighted through my video, you know, to my audience. So it has a multiple layers of value.
And I totally commend you for that. I think it's super niche, and you just hit the nail on the head. Your audience, your market is an audience that's underrepresented on LinkedIn. LinkedIn still is a B2B platform for all intents and purposes, right?
Yeah.
And that's brilliant, and I applaud you for that. So what do you say? There's a lot of crap out there. There's a lot of trolls. There's a lot of people saying, Zack, you can't call yourself an influencer. You can't. What the hell are you doing calling yourself an influencer? Who the hell is a self-proclaimed influencer? What do you say to those people?
Yeah. I mean, there was only really one post where I kind of said, I don't think I've really ever said I'm an influencer other than
I mean, you got the hat on, dude. Yeah.
But it's just like, you know, people gave me that title long before I gave it to myself, you know, and I've always agreed, yeah, you can't really just call yourself that and make yourself one. But I also, in some sense, I've kind of like flipped that on its head. It's like, well, why not? Why not call yourself an influencer? Like, yeah, be an influencer. Why not? You know, what's wrong with that? Like, yeah, you're putting in work to build your business, or you're putting in work.
Call it what it is.
Yeah. So
yeah, and I think you're being transparent and authentic about that. That's something I certainly, you know, appreciate. So a lot of people, I mean, LinkedIn's the Wild West right now. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about TikTok.
I want to add on that.
Sorry, please, let's go back.
If you notice, and I don't know, like this is maybe just a general trend, things have gone this anyway, but there's been a lot of like online, you know, seminars and different events that are like LinkedIn influencer this, LinkedIn influencer fireside chat, best LinkedIn influencers of Dubai. You know, in January, I did the top 10 LinkedIn influencers of 2019. That video got like 25,000 views. So it's like, you know, by me putting that out there, it's not like I'm just benefiting from it, but it's like everyone's.
There's a halo effect.
Because I'm trying to like highlight like, hey, no, like we're legit, you know, like, so I really do kind of contribute it for the benefit of everyone on this platform.
I think that's totally fair. So going back to what I was going to go to before, I didn't mean to cut you off there. You know, a lot of people are coming back to LinkedIn. They're reactivating on LinkedIn. They're seeing that that's where the attention and eyeballs. And a lot of people are scared to put content out there. They feel like it needs to be perfect. It needs to be edited. It needs to be well done. And they're scared to take that first step. So what do you say to somebody? How do you encourage them to take that first step in content creation?
Oh man, I got to tell a story of there was someone who was messaging me, and that's all they would have been. Like they were kind of, you know, in that same position where they never posted a video before, and they're like, well, how do I do it? And I was like, well, like just do it, you know. And the way that person responded made me remember them, because they actually went and didn't respond on a, you know, in the DMs of LinkedIn. They actually just went and posted a video and tagged me in it. They're like, there's my first video. And she actually crushed it. She's actually speaking at Entrepreneur Business Live event, in New York. Well, I think that was yesterday, but Jennifer Collins, you know, this was over a year ago. And I'll never forget that, because I almost kind of like taunted her. Like, you know, I get these random messages all the time, and they're like, you know, yeah, I want to do a video. And I'm like, really? You do? Like prove it almost, you know? And sure enough, she did. Like, I didn't really like,
I like it, man.
I was just like, I'm
motivated.
like, just do it, you know? And sure
enough, motivation.
Yeah. That's really, cause I'll be honest, like since I got back from the road trip, there was about a week just kind of getting out of like a slump where I had so much content, so many things to share. I didn't really even know what to share, or that if I had to share something, it'd have to be like this perfect sequence of all this B-roll and, you know, 30 days. Like I just started sharing like just the smallest little cell phone video, right? Just to kind of, you know, build up that muscle again. You know, it's like working out, you know?
Got it. Totally. So let's talk about the road trip. What was the impetus behind it?
So I guess me personally, I don't know about you, but there's always like, I guess, this idea in the back of your head where it's like, yeah, you know, it'd be really awesome to like get the family, get the car, drive across the country, you know, see all the things and just kind of take your time and do whatever. But like it never actually like happens. You know?
It's one of those pipe dreams. I hear you.
And that's always been my thing, is like, whether it was Dubai or South Africa, I was like, I want to go there and I want to make it happen. And I post a video to LinkedIn and reach out to my community and see how we can make it happen, whether that's through sponsorships or people letting me stay at their house, or, you know, who knows, like someone bought me a ticket to VidCon last year. Like there's been so much help that's exceeded my wildest imaginations. And just me asking has opened myself up to receiving that help.
I agree. I mean, it's what you put out to the universe. So 30-day road trip, you packed the family in the car. You had somebody with you. Is that your buddy?
Yeah,
Um,
Albert's.
Albert's rolling along there. But what was the core purpose? I mean, like, were you stopping at potential clients, current customers, telling the story? I mean, was it, did you have like something set in mind? Here's my intention on this road trip. I'm going to create all the content and here's the purpose of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the larger purpose was the documentary, this,
Right.
Industry 4 road trip that I guess it kind of generated a lot of, a lot of buzz around, because I was just kind of so singularly focused around that one hashtag and that one thing. And so everything else that had been creating has been kind of just supporting that, right? Little side clips, little snippets, podcast here, this podcast. So that was like really cool to see that actually kind of do what it was intended to do, which was generate interest. And then, but the documentary itself, I guess the idea behind it was, let's see if I can make the road trip happen, first of all, through sponsors that would hire me to, essentially come interview them to be part of that documentary, essentially. And then through that, get to take my family on this journey where I could show Zoe, the Hoover Dam, or
The country.
how jelly beans are made, or Yellowstone, Mount Rushmore, and like we did it, and
It was awesome.
It was hard as hell because like, dude, by like the second week, Mary and I were definitely like at edge.
I can imagine stuck in a car.
Yeah. Albert and I would kind of get at each other's, like, we'd kind of get in these weird periods where we'd kind of get at it, we'd get mad at each other essentially without really,
Dude, you're in a confined space for hours and miles and hundreds and thousands of miles at a time, man. And you made it through, you made it on the end. How would you summarize successful? What's the ROI on it? Like, was it worth the time? Was it worth the effort to really step away from home for a month?
No. I will say that I guess the one binary indicator of success for me was that Mary and Zoe finished the road trip. There were times where Mary was like, I'm going home now, and everything situation calmed down, everything smoothed out. Mary and Zoe did kind of take a shortcut from Chicago to Houston. So they kind of cut off that portion where from Chicago, we went, Albert and I then went on to New Jersey, did LinkedIn Global. New York, went to LinkedIn HQ, had some meetups. Then we kind of drove 24 hours back down to like Houston area and met up with them at my Mary's grandpa's farm. And so like they're just kind of hanging out on the farm. So it's kind of nice to get that vacation from the vacation.
It was a break within the break.
Yeah, but then we finished out the road trip strong. One of the last stops being Vegas and like the Hoover Dam, and that was really cool to show that to Zoe. But so that was for me the success, was getting it done. It was 100% worth it. I spent more money than I had budgeted. We raised about $10,000 and we spent about 12.
Okay.
This is not including extra gear that I bought. So like I'm just counting that outside because I did buy a couple $1,000s worth of gear on top of that. So I mean, if you want to just count all in big picture, it's like a $20,000 production when you consider I'm also still post-producing it right now.
Right. It's a lot of time too and effort. But I mean, I can tell you, man, like for what you do in your niche, I think this is spot on. I mean, your marketing mindset here and the plan, I mean, it's brilliant. I certainly applaud you for that.
Thanks, man.
Dude, it's awesome. And
I have months worth of content. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. You got to dig back into that. So let's switch it up a little bit. What would happen if LinkedIn just shut off today? What would you do tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like literally, what if like the fucking Jeff didn't pay the bills and the lights went out and today it's the last day of LinkedIn? What would you do? I get this question all the time, right? Yeah. Like, what would you do? I mean, I live on LinkedIn professionally. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm a recruiter. I mean, that's what I do. What would you do? Lights went out. Boom.
I guess, humans are interesting because we kind of tend to own this success. Like you're like, oh, we have this level of notoriety or success or ability to get our own message out. But you're right, like for me, I'm coming up on like 1,500 YouTube subscribers, but I just crossed 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. So that's like 90% of my influence is on LinkedIn and not on YouTube, right? So for me, I guess I would double down on YouTube in that case, and maybe Instagram or TikTok, I guess. So I guess knowing that I've done it before, I could probably replicate that success on like, let's say TikTok to some degree, right? I mean, there's always a variability of luck involved, but for the most part, it is more about consistency and just kind of getting better and, making your videos that much more engaging and, it kind of takes off more. And you know.
Yeah, so
So
you're adaptable. You could go to
and
another platform.
this is just the beginning, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm just barely 2 years into it, and you know, the business is still like kind of getting to that point where it's trying to sustain itself. And I'm hired, you know, I'm at 3 employees now, so we're trying to like get that kind of to that next level of growth right now. And so, you know, moving to Arizona will be nice. It'll be kind of a fresh start, so to speak. And you know, maybe that'll involve Mary and I getting our first home together, like our forever home. So like that'll be exciting. And you know, like I'm also doing vlogs, like, you know, a lot of the vlogs that I do like along the road trip, those are like just my legacy, you know, like showing that I care about
Yeah.
Zoe, and it's not just about, you know, money or fame. It's just about like my values and just being myself, but
That-
also pushing myself outside my comfort zone to leverage these platforms like LinkedIn and TikTok. And
Yeah, and that's something else, man. I really, love and attracted about you is that you're always innovating and you're always testing. So what's on the horizon in 2020 for Zack Scriven Media? What's next for you, man? We doing a 60-day road trip, a 90-day road trip? You going to Mars? What are we
yeah,
doing?
yeah. Oh man. So, like I said, moving to Arizona. So by the end of Arizona, I'll know like if I'm gonna be moving back to California and buying a house out here, or you know, buying a house out in Arizona. So we'll see where that takes us. But and you heard that here first, by the way. I haven't really talked about.
Exclusive.
Yeah,
Podcast exclusive.
yeah. So that's going to be big for me personally. Mary and I are planning on getting married, so that'll be huge. We're really just trying to like get everything together. Like me quitting my job really kind of set aside some of these major goals we had. Like we were planning on getting married this year, and it would be nice to already be in our own home. But like, you
One
know,
step
when I
at a
had
time,
that
man.
income set back, like our goals had to kind of readjust. You know?
Right? I mean, you have to be, able to adapt and able to take the punches and able to just kind of go with the flow. And I think that you have that mindset, which is going to set you up for success. Let's bring it home here, Zack. So a couple of questions that I ask every guest. I love to get the perspective and I love to really kind of hit home on this. To date, to where we stand today, this is October. I don't know when this is going to air. We're in October of 2019. What would you say to date is your greatest accomplishment?
Mm. I am really, I'm really proud about the road trip.
You
I
should
really
be.
do feel like that's, you know, it's weird because like a lot of ways that's like the peak of my success, but then also at the same time it's like, you know, and I know this is just like those negative thoughts, like saying like, oh, like Zach, you know, you can't even afford to live in California. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I can. I've lived here the last 5 years. It's
That's
just like
defeatist mentality. Don't think that. Yeah.
I'm not like reaching my goals here. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to, you know, cut costs and, but yeah, you're right. That's the defeatist mentality. Yeah. So my biggest accomplishment is definitely the road trip, like
You should
professionally, I'd
be.
say.
Yeah, and you
Um,
should put a feather in your cap because it's not just about the content you created from the road trip, but the fact that you made it happen,
and it
the
aligned with
success.
my values. Yeah.
Exactly, man. And I say that too about the event I pulled off in Dallas. It wasn't so much about the content, which was great, right? The
That was a
fact
link,
that
the LinkedIn Connect event.
correct, yeah, and we made that happen. Like that offsite with Julian made that happen. What is the single greatest piece of advice that you have ever received that you take action on daily?
Just to never give up. I know that sounds corny, right?
But
But
it's true, man. You don't.
mhm.
You take it, man.
It's
I love
just
it.
success is just one failure after another. You know what I'm saying? Like you fail when you fail to proceed. You know?
Yeah, no, totally right. And I mean, believe me, my every step of the way is built on a previous failure. And
It's hard to say that sometimes because when you're in that failure, you're like, fuck this. You know?
yeah, that's the worst part, right? I mean, in the video I put out today, like my lowest point, looking back on it 4 years later, there's no way I would have known what that moment would have meant to where I am today. And it's hard to put yourself in those
Yeah.
shoes, especially when you're in that fucking situation and somebody else says, "Don't worry, I know this is the worst fucking moment of your life, but don't worry, things are gonna get better. Promise me, trust me." Like, get the hell out of my face.
Yeah.
Like I just failed on my face, and now you're trying to tell me that shit. Anyway, switching gears a little bit. What is Zack Scriven's superpower? What do you do better than almost anyone on the entire planet?
Mm. Uh, well, I mean, just being besides being Zach Scriven, but that's kind of given. Um, I tend to look at things at a very unique perspective, and I also, like I said, I'm a futurist, so I'm always looking at how things are going to be in the future. and like how we can get there, and kind of inspiring other people to get there, like activating them. So whether that's getting people to jump on board with LinkedIn video, or, you know, maybe even in the industrial automation space, they're an engineer and, you know, they want to start creating videos. Like that's one of my gifts, I do believe. And then I do feel like I do pretty good at the podcast, although that's maybe just repetition, asking good questions, just generally caring about the other person and not just looking at them like as an interview or a way to reach new audiences, but like a way to make a new friend.
Yeah.
And so the podcast is, you know, it's kind of one of my passions as well too. So
it's fun podcasting, right?
That's where those that's what could make, like, let's say, like when I interview someone and they've never done any type of video before, like what I'm interested in doing is like getting them to feel comfortable, and just like we're having a conversation while my camera's recording, and then being able to take them who maybe they thought they couldn't create any content that's magic, and then showing them this video that just kind of blows their mind of how they can actually, they can create, you know?
Yeah, man, I love that. I mean, you really bring the magic to others, and I think you bring that, and that's something really true and authentic about yourself. Now, I could probably answer this question for you, but what is you know, when not every day is sunshine and rainbows for Zack Scriven. Some days are better than others. When you want to show gratitude, when you need to be lifted up, what is Zack Scriven's North Star?
Yeah, for me, it's you know, it's our creator. That's like kind of the big question, you know, I think that we all have, and that does tend to like drive a lot of things that I do, right? Whether that's in search for more understanding or in search for more connection and relationship or finding meaning. Yeah, I'm kind of existential like that, like kind of that deep, thought-provoking North Star.
I love it, man. Zack, thanks for coming on the show, man.
This is fun, man.
I appreciate it. And what I appreciate and admire most about Zack is that he's steadfast in his convictions. He handles his fair share of trolls like water rolling off an umbrella all day long. And I also deeply admire his tenacity to take a risk and follow his passion, leaving behind a established and somewhat firm career. And it's not easy. And I know this firsthand. I've been in those shoes before. But Zack has the tenacity to define his goals, focus on his faith, and do everything to accomplishment. And kudos for that, dude. I appreciate you. And Zack is an innovator and a creator, and always striving to add value to others to grow his business at the same time. And I hope that his story inspires you to take action and follow your passion. And I hope that you learned a thing or two about content creation. And please follow Zack. He has great stuff. He really shows you how to do everything, and follow his journey and follow what he's creating. And I look forward to continuing to build my relationship with Zack. I mean, he's been a day one OG soul brother to me on this platform. Appreciate him. Appreciate everything he does. Zack, thanks for joining me today. Where could folks find you? Where could they connect with you? Where could they learn more?
Thanks, Adam. I'm proud of you, man. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. If you guys want to know more, Zack Scriven Media on YouTube. It's ZACK. Scriven rhymes with driven, and or Zack Scriven on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks, and I'm going to have links to everything for that below. Zack, thanks for coming on. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on the pozcast. Link, comment, subscribe, share, network. Remember, take your online offline. Zack, thank you for joining us, and everyone listening. Catch us next week for another great episode of the Pozcast.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode jam-packed with more incredible humans. For more info, please visit www.nhptalentgroup.com.